What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Grady, and I listen to country music and whatever else I want to. And today, after many requests, I'm checking out the new Florida Georgia Line album, Can't Say I Ain't Country. So I gotta say, at the very front of this video, at the very beginning, I might be going into it a little bit biased, okay? After the Snap Track video, Brian Kelly, one of the members of Florida Georgia Line, reached out to me and just said, hey man, I like your channel, and we've talked a few times, and he's an extremely kind person. It's an extremely strange life development that we're in touch at all, because while I've been a lot kinder to Florida Georgia Line than I think a lot of critics, I've never been that kind to Florida Georgia Line, and so the fact that we've now established some line of communication is different. And I'd love to be this like badass journalist that's like, and it doesn't matter at all, I'm going in completely unbiased, I'm unaffected by that. But that would be a lie. I'm going to try to be as honest as possible, because I really want to maintain the sense of this channel, which is to talk about music with other music fans. And as Nashville sort of discovers that this channel exists and that I exist, and people reach out or follow me on Twitter, it gets harder for me to do that. But that's why I don't live in Nashville. That's why I don't want to live in Nashville. There is a part of me that's kind of drawn to the celebrity of it, and that's why I quit the media the first time. You know, it's complicated, okay? But you guys are the priority. You guys are the ones that make this channel fun, and I like talking about music with other people. It's why I don't tag artists and all that stuff. Like, I just want this channel to remain honest, and so that's why I'm disclosing this at the beginning of the video, okay? Okay, so now you have all the info you need, and you can judge as you see fit if I'm being, you know, totally honest, or if I'm hedging things. And that's what I like about YouTube. You can read my face and all that stuff. So let's get into this review of Can't Say I Ain't Country by Florida Georgia Line. I don't have to tell you that Florida Georgia Line are kind of the poster boys of bro country.
What about the phrase bro country? What is bro country, first of all?
They're sort of the punching bags of a lot of the country critical community, and yet at the same time they have this undeniable hooky nature that has given them a lot of fans and had them sell a lot of tickets. And they're kind of the defining act, I would say, of maybe the last decade of popular country music. They've lately been spreading their wings into the pop world, and they've done stuff with the Chainsmokers. They obviously did Meant to Be with BB Rexa. And so when they announced that the name of their fourth album was going to be Can't Say I Ain't Country, which, you know, with double negatives, you can eliminate both negatives, so this would mean Can Say I Am Country, it ruffled some feathers. It was meant to be provocative, and it certainly provoked. I was like, is Florida Georgia Line trolling out here with this title, Can't Say I Ain't Country? Because they take a lot of heat for having sort of destroyed the country sound, and they've brought this party element into it. And I've always argued that Florida Georgia Line is the originator of that sound. It feels much more original to them, and I even interviewed them right when Cruise was blowing up, when I was working at Entertainment Weekly. And I've always thought that Florida Georgia Line, they really believe in that sound. They are these party guys. They like this kind of fusion of hip-hop and country and pop. And even if they have spawned a million copycats, I don't feel like they were copying anyone. I thought it was actually more original from them than from everyone else that sort of started to copy them. And if that hasn't been good for country music, fine. But I at least got to give them their artistic credit that it is their own original sound. But needless to say, it was a pretty interesting moment when they released the title Can't Say I Ain't Country. Was this title like a shot fired back at critics of them that say they're not country? That's what the iTunes review would argue. I noticed there's a nice little line in the iTunes review that says, self-anointed purists who don't warm to their snap tracks. And I wonder who that's referencing. I was very amused by that. So I was just curious about this album as soon as that title got released. This is a weird album. This is a really weird album. In some ways, it reminds me of Reputation by Taylor Swift. We got big reputations. In that Reputation espoused to be this entire album that was about, like, I don't care about my reputation. I don't care what people say about me. And I don't care so much that I'm going to make an entire album about it. and you were kind of like, well, it seems like you care a little bit, Taylor. And I think that's a little bit how the title of this album feels to me. You can't say I ain't country, and you're like, okay, well, if you're really cool with that, then just, you don't need to explain it to us. In reality, though, this really isn't a very combative record. It's really not. It is a more sort of lighthearted argument that Florida Georgia Line is country. And so that happens in a few different ways, and there's a lot to talk about with this album. It's very interesting.
Then I met you and you met me, and all the rest is history.
First thing I'll say is it's very long, because there's 19 tracks here. 4 of them are skits, though, and the skits are by this kind of character dude named Brother Jervell, and he is leaving voicemails on the guys' phones, and they're meant to suggest that they're still good old country boys. Even though Tyler got a Tesla, that's one of the skits, he is still country. And there's a lot of songs on this record that would argue we are still country. And, you know, the sound of the record is definitely the countryest record that they've ever made. You're like, wait a second, do I hear mandolin? Do I hear pedal steel? Is that Paul Franklin in the liner notes of this record? There's moments where you're like, what is Florida Georgia Line doing? They're trying to kind of evoke a 90s country sound. That's never something they've really done before. And then at the same time, lyrically though, I think they are making more of a personal argument that we are country. We are from the country. We are from small towns. And so that's why I'm actually really thankful for the title of this record, Can't Say I Ain't Country, because the very first thing that I realized after a listen through the album is that we are having 2 different debates in the debate about country music. There is the sonic debate about country music, of how it sounds, and when people say, that's not country music, or is this country music? Some people are talking about the sound of it. That's where I would fall. And then some people are talking about, are you country? Are you considered that type of person? Are you considered someone that is rural and empathizes with poor people and understands that some people go to church in life and eat at potlucks afterwards? You know, and that's where Florida Georgia Line is making the argument that they are country, the lifestyle side. So we have the music debate and the lifestyle debate. And this record is really clearly arguing that they are the lifestyle of country. And it's in a way less effective way arguing that we are the sound of country music. And this argument over here is obscured by the fact that this record, half of it sounds like pretty country, and then half of it sounds super pop. It's like they doubled down on both at the same time, which I kind of have some begrudging respect for, where I'm like, that's their thing. That's their sound. They're like, we're a country act, and also we're going to do what we want and make songs like Swerve, which we'll get to in a second. Because that song sucks. So this album is, I would divide the songs on this record into 3 categories. There's the country defense songs, which include songs like Can't Say I Ain't Country, Can't Hide Red, Y'all Boys, which is a collaboration with Jason Aldean, or with Hardy, who wrote a lot of this record. He's a new artist that they're clearly big fans of. Can't Hide Red is a collaboration with Jason Aldean. And then Small Town. So those are like the We Are Country songs. Then there's like Sex Jams, which includes Talk You Out of It, their current single, and one of my least favorite singles from them.
Girl, I know you had a long day.
Like You Never Had It, and Swerve, which is a song that references Bugattis and booties and pants. And then the third category, I don't know what to call it, just everything else, including sort of the trend-casing-y songs to me, like Women, which is the latest in our long litany of songs like Woman, Amen, and Female, these sort of hallowed woman songs, and People Are Different, just kind of like in the same vein as Most People Are Good by Luke Bryan, or Love Wins by Carrie Underwood, which is like, we can all get along. So there's actually a lot of songs that I like here. A lot more than I expected to like on this album. And I think it's cool. I think it's cool what they're doing. I like that they're kind of dipping their toe into the countryer waters, the sound of 90s country. I think Speed of Love is one of my very favorite things they've ever done. It's got this kind of like almost Jerry Reed feel to it. It's fast, it's fun, it has words like orange peel in it, and this kind of spoken verse that almost reminded me of Charlie Daniels and The Devil Went Down to Georgia. I really, really, really like that song and think it's super fun. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. I really like Told You. That's one of my favorite things that they have ever put out. And I really like Colorado. Those are my 3 favorite tracks on this record. I actually tweeted, those are my 3 favorite tracks. And then, of course, I go over to iTunes, sort by popularity, and what are the bottom 3 favorite tracks. So annoying. So annoying. Why does that always happen? That the best tracks on an album are always the ones that people flock to the least. But hey, not everyone has my taste. As Florida Georgia Line says, people are different. And that's my taste, you know? I like some of the countryer things that they're trying to do on this record. I think they sound really nice, and I think it makes it a much easier listen. At the same time, it does make it a much more schizophrenic listen when you then get some other tracks that are like Swerve, which is just, I find, a really hideous track. I think, like, making me swerve, making me swerve, like that repeated thing doesn't sound cool to me, and it just feels gross. The kind of R&B sex songs on this record, I think if you just cut those, you'd have a stronger record. If you cut those and the skits and you had a tighter, like, 12-track record, it would make more sense as a record. As it stands right now, I think it's pretty a house divided against itself. And again, I think maybe the double down was intentional. Now, the writing on this record is pretty broad, and that's how Florida Georgia Line always writes. They're not really making these super incisive, personal musings the way Lori McKenna might. And look, not everyone can make a Lori McKenna album, even though I wish everything was. I don't wish everything was. I'm glad music is diverse. But there's not a lot of sort of like really personal storytelling on this song. There's much more. They kind of write in a term that I call Pinteresty, where it's like a mood board of things that evoke a certain setting and feeling. That's sort of Florida Georgia Line style. And so on all these songs that are like Small Town and Can't Say I Ain't Country and Can't Hide Red, they are kind of in that style. It's pretty checklisty, but they choose really good things to name. I think they have a good way with words. They choose fun images, and I think it really elevates the songwriting a lot more than on a lot of other big Nashville tracks. So even just look at like Can't Say I Ain't Country. I pulled up the lyrics right here. We've got gas station busy. That's a fun term. Chicken in a bread pan. That's a fun term. Styrofoam full of tobacco spit. You know, these images, some people might say that's a little hokey, but at least they're real images. They're using actual good nouns to paint a picture. I think the wordplay in Colorado is really fun. I've been drunk up in the Smokies on a Rocky Mountain high. There's all these sort of things about alcohol being from Tennessee and weed being from Colorado, and so you get a lot of fun interplay with those words. Small Town to me is kind of the mission statement of Florida Georgia Line, sonically and lyrically. I feel like it's a smash hit, even if it's not my favorite sounding song on the record. I think Blessings is a really good song. I think Simple is a good song. I like when they sing a little more narratively. I like when maybe their wives bring that out in them, this kind of a little more personal delivery style with them. That's a little gentler, that uses words like I and we, not y'all, where they're kind of branding or defining something. I think it does something good to their music that I find really appealing to listen to. Told You I love. Told You is probably my favorite track on this record. That or Speed of Love. I feel like that is the right version of a sexy song. That song is like sexy because it feels intimate, not sexy because it's actually about sex. I also think Y'all Boys is a pretty fun song. Y'all boys with that southern drawl, boys here before you. I like that it is claiming this sort of small town, southern, we understand George Strait and Alan Jackson type of guy without sort of bashing the city guys. I like that it kind of has a positive attitude. Maybe there's an implied little bit of shade, but it's very lighthearted and fun. This really isn't an antagonistic record, and if it were a little more antagonistic, kind of the way I thought it would be based on the title, then it would be way easier to go in and bash it. But it's pretty friendly in its demeanor overall, and it's pretty fun in a lot of its moments. So there's actually a lot that I like on this record. About half the record I really like, but overall, I would say the writing for my taste is a little too broad, and I think if you wanted to make the argument of like you are country, to me what makes country music so different is that it can just be a really simply told story about real life, and this actually feels like a little more curated of a story about sort of an idealized country life, and that's a little bit of a difference to me. This feels like a more branding of country and not really just here's kind of what my day-to-day life is. I think you could make a true blue country song about the Tesla in your garage and just write about like driving around in it and why you like it. And so for me, the debate, like I said, isn't really about the lifestyle of country. It is about the music itself, because hello, I'm not country and I love country music, but I get why people would respond in this kind of way, because when people want to attack me, they always go for the personal. They always go, who are you to weigh in on this album? Suburban comb-over boy. That's what someone called me once. Or who are you to weigh on this album? You're some wannabe hipster. You lived in New York City. And all those things are true. Maybe the hipster part's true. It's pretty true. And I get that that's maybe what they're responding to, is the personal element. Production-wise, like I said, I like a lot of the sounds on this record. I like kind of the direction they're pushing in. Joey Moy is not my favorite producer. They're gonna work with him because, hello, he helped kind of make their sound explode. He knows what he's doing clearly, but I don't love always how he mixes voices, and I don't like kind of the wall of sound that he often creates. But I think overall, there's textures on this album that I've not heard from Florida Georgia Line before that I really quite enjoy. So, man, it's just kind of a schizo album. I would get rid of the skits. I think the arguments made in the music are strong enough. I would get rid of the R&B sex jams. And I feel like you'd have like a kind of strong record there. But at the same time, these sort of argument breakers that are undermining the country argument just by their sheer presence on the album, it makes it confusing. And so that, plus not being quite as personal as I want it to be, but plus being like really encouraged by some of the songs, like Told You, I love that song, it sounds good. I would just say that this is maybe like a 5.2. A 5.2 out of 10 is what I'd give this record. And I don't know, it's intriguing, it's fun, I like it. It's just so weird, but I would rather something so weird than something not weird enough. You know what I mean? So let me know what you guys think of this record. Let me know what you think of Can't Say I Ain't Country. Let me know if you think I am full of shit, because you're welcome to do that, and you're welcome to say that I'm not country, but you're not welcome to say that I don't like country music. That's all. So let me know whatever you want in the comments down below. Give this video a like. I'll see you soon, and that's all.